Hello and welcome back to the Global Gaming Network Power Rankings. EWC still in full swing, so many different games to cover. Today it's going to be Teamfight Tactics, Riot's auto battler, one of the most fun games to play. A lot of people don't even know there is an esports scene, and it's a really fun one to watch. Joining with me today is our resident TFT expert. That's going to be Chris. How are we doing today, Chris?
I'm doing great. I am really excited for this current EWC for TFT. We've gone to a new patch, so a lot of chaos will ensue. But I really like the team battle format for it. It's a lot of fun. It's, big mix up from like the Tactician's Crown that we just had for set 14. And then we go into set 15 now, and our first big tournament is actually a 4v4 battle. So we'll get to see how that mixes everything up.
Yeah, just to explain that a little further, anyone that plays TFT is probably used to playing the standard free-for-all, eight people in the lobby, everyone's battling for first. It's a little bit different. It's going to be a 4v4 where 4 members from one team and 4 members from the other team are all in that same free-for-all, where you sometimes will be fighting against your teammates. So there's a lot of intricate teamwork that can happen where you can purposefully maybe remove some items so you're more likely to lose to your teammate if you're trying to set them up to get a first place, because the highest average placing team in that lobby is the team that's awarded the points. What do you think about this strategy, Chris? I mean, when I think about this, it's like, how good can we grief our opponents by like buying all their units? Like, what are some of the other strategies we're gonna see?
Well, I mean, definitely, as you said, you have to scout the lobby, and a lot of communication will be have to put on, but it's not just the comps as well, it's what items you want to pick up as well. So as you know, Teamfight Tactics, for those of you who don't play it too much, your items can also vary on what, comps you want to play. If you get a mage opener, you may want to play into like something like Sorks or Mentor Milkk that we've seen, or if you get an AD opener, you may want to play towards like, a Gameplank reroll comp that we've seen in set 15 so far. So we'll have to see how that goes. We can see a lot of, the different items being picked up, what they go onto the carousel. They may be saying, oh, well, I may be first to pick on the carousels because I'm currently in 8th, but this bow may be better to go into someone who may be in 6th. So maybe I kind of grief the bow and let it go, or maybe I just pick it up because I know someone on the enemy team may need it. So we'll have to see. Good communications can be key across all these teams to see how they place out.
I do really love this format because, I mean, it's already a big brain game that you've got to keep a lot of different variables in your head, but when you've got to add 3 teammates with you and figure out how to mastermind the lobby, it's going to be fun to watch. But now that we kind of understand what's at play, let's go ahead and jump into our rankings. So to start off the list, number 5 is going to be Aegis. Now, this is a all-French team that won the EMEA qualifier. Standout player would be Prestivent. Love this guy's username, but he is a mastermind when it comes to TFT. He's an absolute grinder as well. You've also got Opale, Lyris, and Gobastur. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. French is not my first language. But this is a strong team. Prestivent himself has $47,000 in earnings. Gobastur has won a Magic Mayhem Golden Spatula. I expect them to cook up some strategies despite them not really being a 4v4 team. Chris, do you think that the Frenchmen have what it takes to take this down?
Yeah, it'll be definitely fun to see because, as you said, this team hasn't really been too big in the 4v4 scene. They have a lot of solo players, but we've seen how that can come together. We've had 2 that just kind of more recently joined this year. They did previously play in 2022 that I saw, and then they had 2 long-standing members, and then they had 2 added currently that were able to make this run in set 14 in the qualifier to make it to EWC. So that means that those 2 people that they picked up was a huge addition to the team. As you said, the Possible, they're going to be able to jump further into it. So I'm really excited to see how they place, because Europe, they got that first place and they did it pretty soundly when I was watching. I believe the last game that they were in that best of 3, in game number 3, it just ended because they had all 3 members actually in those top 3 spots, meaning that their opponents emergency weren't able to take a win. It just ended right there. They didn't want to go too much further, and they completely dominated those 2 games that they needed to win to get to EWC. I'm really excited to see how they go forward. As I said, we did have like one where you can see one sitting in that top spot with that streak. So usually we kind of see one streaking from them, and then someone in that 5th to 8th range will, as you said before, kind of play for the team. But then as they get into the later stages, will just max out their board, go for that top 8 so that they can have a majority of the players in the top 8 to take those wins.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, you want to grief to some degree, but it does make sense for if the last place player is really good at getting stronger before the end of the game. Even just getting 1 or 2 places higher can make all the difference in that average placing. So yeah, I'm really curious about this one. Obviously, we're on a brand new set 15, Coliseum. What is it called? Sorry.
KO Coliseum.
KO Coliseum. I always mix it up.
I love this set.
It's awesome.
Shaders are great.
Yeah.
I did want to point out, though, they have a pretty hard group in Group B. They do have to face off Falcons. We will talk a little bit later, but then they also have to face off against Mals as well, which is one of their EMEA co-components that did go through the global qualifiers, if I remember correctly.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll have to see what they can cook up in the new set. We know that very strong minds can come up with strategies quickly, but let's go ahead and talk about our number 4 on the list. That's going to be T1 Esports. Of course, a legendary esports organization, mostly known for Faker and their League of Legends exploits, but their TFT roster is probably the strongest in Korea by most people's estimations. They did finish second in EWC Grand Finals last year and second in the qualifier, but despite losing to Flash Wolves, people still see them as a better team. The individual players have, won a lot of B and C tier events, but in the last 12 months haven't won a lot of like A and S tier events. Bentium historically has been massive for this lineup. Maybe set 15 and like the fast 9 strategy on this patch will be good for them because that seems like the meta Bentium's been good at. But do you think this team has what it takes to make another Grand Finals?
I think they do, and I say this mostly because they are second place merchants. Unfortunately for this team, I have looked, and across the board, they just seem to come in second. So I was looking at EWC, they came in second versus Wolves. But then I looked in both the Asian Champion qualifier, they came in second, which of course got them here to EWC. But then when they went into the Asian Champion, they also came in second there in the Soup Nations Cup. So this team seems to just be getting second place. Now, they did add Crazy Moving this year to the team. That is one of their newest additions. Seems to be doing really well, of course, since they are consistently getting those second place finishes in these 4v4 formats. But I'm wondering if they can finally break that curse coming into it. They seem, as you said, right now we believe we'll be on 15.1, which is the release patch for TFT. We saw a lot of that fast 9, and we know how good they are with these aggressive comps. So I'm expecting them to make that run for it this year and use all their, veteran players that they have from especially SC as well to have a lot of that shot calling, also to help his team try to reach that pinnacle and maybe get that first this year.
Okay, yeah, we know that they probably have a bad taste in their mouth from finishing second last year and would like to right those wrongs, but they're gonna have some stiff competition as we're gonna go into the rest of the list. On that note, let's go into number 3. And this team, they came in number 3 in our power rankings, but a lot of people actually have them as favorites to win the whole thing. That's gonna be Team Falcons. Now, this might be a little bit confusing for you, but the reason it's hard to really place this team is because they do have 2 players from the Wolves lineup that won EWC last year, and that's going to be Li Xiao and Shelty. They obviously finished first in the Chinese qualifier to get into the tournament. Li Xiao was also named the finals MVP at EWC World Cup 2024, and they're the ones that won the Asian Champions Cup that you just mentioned, defeating T1 in the finals. So they're obviously very aggressive. The Chinese region has historically been some of the best in international TFT tournaments. Can that aggressive playstyle win in this format, do you think?
I think it can. As we were talking about with T1, especially, wanting to streak, we'll have to see, when they play these aggressive styles, they either lose streak or win streak. But if you're able to come back from these streaks, get a good roll down on 8 or even fast 9, I think we'll be able to see them get the comps that they want. But we also know that China is really big on innovation as well when it comes to comps. So maybe there's a lot of comps that we haven't seen that they're playing, especially maybe if they're boot camping now, since they have, the team that has done well in the past, as well as 2 players who made finals last year. I'm really excited to see. But a really big player that I want to watch out for is Li Tujuan. Not only did he get 1 award during the Asian Championships, but he got 4. He got Best Performing Player, Tactician Supreme, Ruthless Blade, and Elimination King during some of against Asia's Best when they did their 4v4 tournament. So this player has recently come onto the team. It looks like he's going to be able to put out massive numbers. Elimination King, that means he was eliminating people left and right, and that's exactly what you want to see from a player. Unfortunately, you don't get elimination points. You only get points per your ranking, but could you imagine being able to someone that's just going to start eliminating your whole team? that's someone we'll have to look out for. Plus, this team has a lot of veteran players on it. They know how to get first places, and I can expect them to do amazing going into this tournament.
Yeah, really funny you mentioned the awards. I looked into them as well. The Ruthless Blade one is eliminating your own teammates. So this guy doesn't care who you are. If you're on his team, if you're on the other team, he's going to take you out of the lobby.
For that first there.
He's going for first. Of course, likely set up by his teammates. And I just want to talk about the Chinese innovation as well, is the fact that in the 4v4 strategy, it's a totally different game in my opinion, because you're manipulating the player pool, the item pool. There's just so many more ways you can manipulate the lobby itself. And I think the Chinese region are probably some of the best in the world at some things like that. So we'll watch what they have in store for us on Monday, but we're not done with our list. We got to talk about my favorite team, and that's going to be number 2, Team Vitality. This is probably going to be the fan favorite going in for obvious reasons. We got K3 Soju, we got prestivent, we've got Milkk and setsuko. I mean, these are some of the biggest names in the streaming community. K3 Soju has been a little bit controversial as of late. You know, account sharing was not allowed to compete in certain things. But he's back and he's been boot camping with the team. I think this team, like, as long as they don't crash out, they should do quite well. But do you think that, you know, the level-headed ones, Milkk and prestivent, can keep setsuko and Soju from crashing out?
Well, first things first, I'm doing my best Soju impression here, trying to get as low as possible. Unfortunately, the cam isn't high enough to keep it over for me, but I love this team. This team is probably one of the most fun, especially when it comes to a content creation style. All these players, you know, stream and they're really good. But I do want to note that you said, can we have Milkk and prestivent keep setsuko and Soju online? The one thing about Soju is he hasn't had the best, you know, individual performances. He always seems to make it there, but then falls just short of like tactician crowns. But when it comes to like duos or like these fours, he actually seems to excel. And he's a really like unselfish player when it comes down to it. When we were watching EWC last year, there were times that he was streaking, but there was also times that he was able to play in that 5th through 8th spot to allow his teammates to excel in their comps, to get them in higher spots, and then would max out his board, as I talked about a little bit earlier, to help get his team those placement points. Unfortunately, they did fall a little bit short, not making finals. They were in that 3rd through 4th place spot. But I think, you know, this team as a whole, even though they have, you know, some hotheads, setsuko, or some, you know, trolley players like people would associate with Soju, I think as a team together, especially what they showed in that set 14 qualifier to get to EWC, that they are really strong in a team that knows how to really work well together. Plus, they have been boot camping since the beginning of set 15 in Germany at the Vitality, in France at the Vitality headquarters. So I think they're going to do really well. None of them have been streaming at all, meaning that they're putting a lot of work and effort into the set EWC.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing to note as well. The fact that they're not streaming. I mean, these guys' entire life is streaming on Twitch and playing TFT. But if they're not streaming, that means they're locked in and they're trying to come up with strategies that they can throw people off with. You know, they don't want to share the secret sauce with their competition because they know that their competition's probably watching them play. And I did also just want to mention, like, Soju's known for his 1st or 8th play style. Yes. Which might actually be perfect in this format, right? Because it's like, okay, whoever gets a high roll opener, all right, let's set up Soju for a 1st place. Or Soju low rolls the opener. It's like, all right, Soju's now going to be the guy that, like you said, is selfless and sets up the rest of the team. So it'll be really fun to watch their strategy, especially if they can make it to a finals as they progress through the bracket. But we got to reveal our number 1 team on the list. And it's, of course, going to be the defending champions, Wolves. This team you cannot underestimate. They're from, in my opinion, the strongest region in China when it comes to TFT. America's on the rise though, so watch out other regions. But I mean, this team, we got YGQF, Serene, Honglian, and Sudowoodo. This team is insane. I think that they probably have more experience in the 4v4 environment than like any other roster. So do you think that, you know, they'll be able to repeat their success that they had last year?
I think they will, mostly because when it comes down to it, we are in a new set, so everyone's kind of back to that playing field again. So we'll have to see how they can go up. Of course, we talked about Falcons being a really strong contender from China as well. And then, of course, they had really big competition with T1. But when we go to a new set, everything is almost like clean. And this is a defending champion that we're talking about coming back into EWC. So they are on the ability. They do have 2 players with YGQF and Syrian able to, bring these 2 other Honglian and Pseudo Wudo in under their wing and probably see if they can maybe pull out another first. Now, again, they do have a really, tough opponents to go against, and I believe in their group as well, they have to go against Liquid, Rock, and then Evos. So we'll have to see how they pull out. D group is a little bit on the lower end when I was comparing, group tiers across each other, because we have Group A, which has T1 Vitality, and then of course Group B, as I was talking about, has Falcons. So we'll have to see how they go, but we do know they have that aggressive play style. We do know that they have the innovation as well that we saw from EWC last year. So if they can bring those onto their new 2 players, then they can definitely make a run for those grand finals once again. And it is a best of 5, so they have experienced that at least one before. And TFT, not many people think about it as a long game, but if you're getting into those final stages 6, you're well past 30 minutes, almost 40 minutes at that point, and having that endurance can really help them.
Absolutely. The grand finals could go very long, so we'll be watching it. Like we said, the action begins on Monday the 11th, so make sure you guys are watching it. But before we wrap things up, there is an honorable mention that we want to talk about, and it's a team that wasn't even competing last year in 2024. That's going to be Citadel. I really am kind of excited for this roster. We've got Robin Songs, who is on a hot streak lately. Soulless and Dank Memes have really been popping off. I think Dank Memes won one of the big tournaments recently as well. So what do you think about this other North American team and their chances at this tournament?
I think this is our Vibe team that we're going to have a lot of fun with. Robin Walk all the way. Now, he has taken the opposite approach. He has been streaming when it's come into it, but he is number 9 on the leaderboard as of the time of this recording right now. He has put in a lot of work. He's also the creator of the handbook that he puts out, which he said is not, solely just for people to look, but it also helps him learn the comps. And I think if he's able to put all this time and attention into a useful tool like that for other people to use, but it helps him out, he'll be able to help his team. As you said, Dank Memes also did very well in one of the previous sets in the finals. So I think this is a team that is a massive dark horse that could win the whole entire thing. And I would love to see a Robin Walk on stage as they're winning the grand finals. If I had to choose, that's one of the best to watch. But I mean, Solus, Kaiwing, both of them very strong players as well. They also have been boot camping and getting ready for this tournament. So I think they are well prepared.
Yeah, Robin Song's surprising a lot of people. I mean, he's a streamer, but he's one of the best in the game. He just finished in the finals of the Cyber City Showdown. Correct. So he's really kind of at an all-time high as far as his competitive career goes. But man, this has been so much fun talking about TFT. Chris and I are probably going to go jump in a ranked lobby right after this so we can get used to set 15. But if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you guys subscribe to the Global Gaming Network. We do power rankings for any game you can imagine. We've got more on the way. We got plenty of other content to check out today in esports for the latest and greatest in news, where you'll see Chris again. But once again, my name is Eli the Ninja. You guys enjoy the rest of your day.